if you're like, but Megan, I have all of these experiences that tell me this isn't possible, that tell me that I'm not capable, that tell me this, blah, 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 then what I would say to you, my dearest, is that, okay, all of those experiences were then. What about now? What about who you have become now? Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become. Hello, and welcome to episode 206 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. Today, of course, we are going to chat about the fourth and final pillar of becoming. Before we jump into it, let's do a bit of a review of the first three pillars, along with the connection to this metaphor that I have established. So the first one was setting a vision, and this is signified by a milestone, deciding on a milestone out there that you want to reach. And in our metaphor of being on the journey of life, this may look like a destination, but it's not an end all be all final destination, because once you get to that milestone and you've had a look around and you've enjoyed it, there's going to be something else. You're continually becoming, you're continually on this journey. And it's not an exhausting thing. It's an exciting, like, okay, we're going to go here. We're going to do this. We're going to have this experience. We're going to be this person. And then from there, we get to decide something else that sounds exciting, somewhere else to go, someone else to be on our continual becoming and evolution. The second pillar was all about goals. These are the mile markers as we are traveling along the road to get to our milestone. They tell us that we are on the right track, that we're making progress. They give us something to celebrate all along the way, and they give us something a little bit more immediate to shoot for. The third one is habits, your habits. And I kind of gave this two parts in our metaphor. The first is that your habits really indicate your trajectory. If you make the same choices over and over and over again, it predicts the future, tells you where you're going to end up. And also using a habit, a very intentional habit, as a bridge that you cross on a daily basis from who you are now to who it is you want to become, so that you start experiencing what it's like to be that person. You start making choices and decisions as that person, and gradually this bridge gets shorter and shorter until you don't go back to who you've been anymore. You just live on the other side of that bridge as that person that you want to become always. And then there will be another bridge, another habit to set. Okay, so those are our first three pillars of becoming with their metaphor. This fourth metaphor is all about course corrections. If you've ever taken a road trip or really just been on the road, even as simple as, like, sometimes where I live, going to the grocery store, sometimes it's like, man, I didn't realize that there was going to be this much traffic, or there was going to be this much road work, or this road was going to be closed, and I have to recorrect or correct or whatever to get to where it is I'm trying to go. Even in my little city here, sometimes it feels like quite the effort. But anyways, when we're on a road trip, things are going to come up. They're going to happen. There's going to be detours. There's going to be unexpected things in the road. There's going to be, emergency pull-offs to pee. There's going to be things that happen along the journey. And we have to have tools and a system and something in place to get us back on track. And this, of course, is going to be managing our mindset. Now, in full transparency, because I love it when other people share this stuff, this is the third time that I have that I'm recording this episode. And it's not because I don't know what I'm saying or I don't know what I'm talking about, because I do know what I'm saying and I do know what I'm talking about. But it's because I've felt like every time I have recorded this episode, it's come out a little bit messy. It's come out as like a jumble of thoughts, and it's just kind of like, here, do something with this. And every time I'm like, okay, but how do I organize this? And I feel like I've got it well organized this time for you so that as these things come up along your journey, you feel empowered to course correct. The first is, I mean, well, like not even the first, but like the preface is that knowing that things are going to come up, just being aware of it in the front of your mind rather than like, of course, something was going to come up, gives you the ability to anticipate it. And then when something happens, then you know that you can deal with it. You know that it's your responsibility to deal with it. And then you can do something about it. Now, before we get started, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. There's nothing wrong with the detours. There's nothing wrong with the closed roads. There's nothing wrong with emergency pullovers. There's nothing wrong with any of these things that we have to course correct. They just are part of the human experience. And the trick is to not let any of these things stop you, to not let them keep you from your path of intentional becoming. So know that they'll come up. Know that they don't mean that you're doing it wrong or that you're bad or that you're not good enough or whatever. They don't mean anything negative. They're just a part of the journey. And think of it in the terms of our metaphor here. If you are driving down the road and you hit a closed road sign that you weren't expecting and now you have to take a detour, you wouldn't automatically think, I guess I'm a bad driver. That means nothing about you. That means nothing about your driving ability. It just means that the road is closed for some reason. Maybe there's a giant pothole, so maybe that's saving you from, you know, something, from hurting your car or getting in a wreck or whatever. Maybe you don't even know. You don't know why the road's closed. You just know that it's closed. And it doesn't mean anything about you. It just means you got to find a different way to get to where you're going. Okay? So the very first one is fear. Fear stops us so much. And when we decide on a big vision, when we see this for ourselves and we get really excited about it, most often that is accompanied by fear and doubt. And I'm going to kind of use these two together. Fear and doubt will come up and you'll think, but I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if that's possible for me. It sounds like it's really hard. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of work. It sounds like I'll have to alienate my friends and family to make it happen, and that's not worth it, and blah, blah, blah. And we tell all these fearful, doubtful stories about why we can't reach that milestone, why we can't become that person, why we can't do it. And if we listen to the fear and the doubt, we're not going to go anywhere. We are not even going to start the car, because what would be the point? If we're already believing that it's too far out of reach, that it's not possible, that it's not for us, that it's not whatever, we're not going to go anywhere. We're not going to move because we've already decided that we can't. So then it's not worth any effort at all. And when we're thinking these fearful, doubtful thoughts, we're not going to do what's required of us to get there. We're not going to make decisions that would get us there. We're just going to hit cruise control and keep going on whatever path we are currently on, following least resistance and just moving along. So you have to find a way to battle these fears and to battle these doubts and to overcome them so that they don't stop you. And the first is that I would suggest is to lean into possibility. If you're thinking, I can't do that, then lean into the possibility of maybe I can do that. What if I could do that? Like, what if that was possible for me? What if I could do it and still have really great friendships and relationships? What if lean into the possibility, because the truth is that you, nothing says that you absolutely cannot make that happen, that you can't achieve that you can't be that person. That's just a story. And if you're going to tell a story, then you might as well tell an empowering story. So choose a story that says, maybe this is possible for me. Maybe that is meant for me. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can figure it out. And lean into this possibility. You have to be, when you're dealing with fear and doubt, you have to be willing to see things differently. You have to be willing to take a different perspective, and instead of thinking of reasons why you can't, why it's impossible, why it'll be too hard, why you're not good enough, why you don't know enough, why blah 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 whatever, use that incredible imagination that's coming up with all these reasons to create reasons why you can, why it might be possible, why it could happen. And if you're like, but Megan, I have all of these experiences that tell me this isn't possible, that tell me that I'm not capable, that tell me this, blah, 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 then what I would say to you, my dearest, is that, okay, all of those experiences were then. What about now? What about who you have become now? What about you've learned all of these things and you are this person now? Who's to say that now isn't the time it'll work? Who's to say that now isn't your time for this? Who's to say that now you're not ready? Who's to say that you haven't gone through all of these things that weren't for you so that you'd be prepared for this thing that is for you? Because the real truth is that we are different every single day. And maybe we're different by just a little bit, but maybe we're a lot different. And over time, that compounds and we become a different person all of the time. It just usually happens so slowly that we don't notice it. But if you look back and think of yourself, who you were 10 or 20 years ago, you were likely an entirely different human. And so who's to say that those experiences dictate what you are capable of doing now? Because they don't. You were a different person then than you are now, because you are growing and evolving every single time. Even with this episode, this is the third time I said that I am recording this episode. And because I recorded it the other two times, I was able to actually organize my thoughts in a more cohesive manner. So it wasn't that those two times were a waste. They taught me something. They helped me refine. They helped me know that, okay, I'm figuring it out. And when I record it the third time, I can put in faith that now I have done what I've needed to do. I've organized in my head what I've needed to organize, and now we're ready for the one we'll publish, right? Those past ones that felt like a mess doesn't mean anything about this episode now, because I'm different now, even though I just recorded those over the last couple of weeks or the last week or so. And so I'm not that different, but I'm different enough for it to make a difference. Okay? So the first one you're going to encounter is fear and doubt. That's the very first one. You have to be able to neutralize the fear and doubt and lean into the possibility and create a story that's going to empower you and encourage you so that you do what you need to do, so that you can go where you need to go and become who you need to become. The second one is going to be disappointment. Along the path, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to think that this road was the nice, beautiful, scenic drive, and then you find that you're driving through endless cornfields of Kansas, and you're just like, this is not what I thought this was going to be. This is not, this does not look like I thought it would. You're going to be disappointed sometimes. That also doesn't necessarily mean you're on the right track. You're not on the right track. This doesn't necessarily mean you're not on the right track. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good enough, that you're not doing the right things. It doesn't necessarily mean any of that. It just means, not yet, it just means that maybe there's some refinement. It just means whatever is more empowering to help you continue on. Again, it's all stories. Whenever you hit disappointment, you're feeling that disappointment because you're telling yourself a story. Like, well, maybe because this part of the journey is really ugly, maybe my destination isn't going to be that great. Maybe when I get there, I'm going to be disappointed with that too. So change the story. And I received an email, just like a newsletter email from Marie Forleo a couple of weeks ago. And there was one thing in particular that really stood out to me. And she said, life's rejection is God's protection. And that stuck with me. And even if you're not religious or believe in God or whatever, you can just think of it like life's rejection is protection. You can take God out of it if you want. And sometimes when you look back on your life, the things that you wanted or the things that you tried to do, there are some of those, I feel like they're kind of rare, but I feel like there are some situations that you're like, man, I'm glad that didn't work out. Man, I'm glad I didn't get what I wanted there. Man, I'm glad this. Because when you look back, you're just like, oh, that actually would have led me to a place I didn't really want to go. That would have not been the best for me. So sometimes you can view it like that, like, okay, I'm disappointed right now, but maybe it's for my ultimate benefit. Maybe this is protecting me for something. Maybe there's something else I need to learn, something else I need to refine, something else I need to work on in order to be ready for whatever it is I am trying to achieve. So, whatever's disappointing you, turn it around. Tell yourself a story that is going to empower you to keep going rather than sit on the side of the road and give up. Now, if you need to sit on the side of the road and cry for a little bit, absolutely do that. But then get back in the car and continue on the journey, okay? The third one is that life is crazy. And we get distracted and we get busy, and there's going to be chaos, and there's going to be things that we were not anticipating. There's going to be sick kids and broken bones and all sorts of randomness that are going to take us out of our focus, pull us off track, and they can majorly detour our progress if we don't deal with that, if we don't get back on course. Before we jump into that, real quick, there's nothing wrong with putting your car on cruise control for a little bit so that you can deal with the chaos, so that you can deal with the busyness, so that you can have the capacity to handle what life has thrown at you. If you've got to put it on cruise control for a little bit, do that. Get through your busy season, but then take take it back. Take it back, get back on track, be back intentionally. Put your focus on where it is you want to head. Nothing wrong with the occasional cruise control when life is throwing you hurricanes. You've got to take a moment to chill out, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of whatever needs taken care of. And then when the dust settles, don't give yourself a hard time about the lost time or, whatever. Give yourself some grace and then keep going. Okay. So you need a way to do that. And this one's a little bit more practical. The other ones are very much in your head, like managing emotions, managing your thoughts, managing your stories. This one's a little bit more practical. I encourage you to implement a practice that allows you to not forget about what it is you want to do, who it is you want to become, and where it is you want to go. If you have a practice in your life that you are currently using to keep this in the forefront, it will help you when the busyness hits, when the chaos hits, when there are distractions all over the place. My favorite is on Monday mornings. I like to take some time to review my goals for the year, to review my goals for the quarter or the month or whatever time frame I've set goals for, and review who it is I want to become, what it is I'm aiming for, what it is I'm trying to accomplish, who it is I want to be. And then when I'm looking at my week, as I take this time on Monday morning, I'm looking at my week and I know what's going on that week as far as I can predict. and I make plans. I schedule them in to move forward on those goals, on the things that I want to create, the person I want to become. I schedule it in as much as I can while resting, while taking care of the family, with all of the other responsibilities that I have, with being at all of the choir concerts and all of the this and all of the that. I schedule those things in so that even if it's just one thing a week, I'm making a little bit of progress still, no matter what, anyways. But that time that I take on Monday mornings refocuses me. It's like, yeah, all of this crazy is going on, and this is where I'm headed. No matter what, this is where I'm headed, and I can deal with all of the chaos and I can move forward a little bit. And I can know that when the chaos settles, I can move forward more, or I can move forward faster, or I can do more, or whatever it is when my capacity has, you know, enlarged, or when my when my capacity isn't taken up by all of this other stuff, then I'll have more to give here. Okay. So you have to deal with the fear and the doubt and the disappointment. All of that is really in your head or in your journal. I suggest you do it in your journal. Because if you do it in your journal, then it's out of your head, and that's ideal. Okay, so all of that is mindset work. It's, controlling the narrative, controlling the story, and encouraging yourself through those stories that you're telling yourself. And then the final one is really just practical. Using your calendar, using your planner, using whatever you use to organize the events in your life and the tasks and all of the practical things. Have a way that you can return to what it is you are aiming for, no matter what is going on. So you use these 4 pillars together. This is not a sequential thing. I mean, of course, you need to have a vision in order to set goals in the direction of that vision, and you need to know who it is you're becoming in order to set a habit that helps you become that person, and a habit that gives you the bridge to being that person. And this 4th and final one is going to serve you throughout it all. As you establish the habit and maybe you stumble and miss a day or two, and now you need to tell yourself a story of like, okay, that's okay. Now we can get back on track. It's okay that happened, and whatever. We're doing this now. I'm recommitting, I'm redeciding, I'm whatever. And this mindset work is going to come into play as you strive to achieve goals. And maybe you miss something and you're disappointed, or maybe you don't even believe that you can achieve that goal. So now you have to work on that story. And of course, the vision one is the biggest one that you need to empower yourself around. And then with all of it, it all requires physical action, doing things out in the world, being the person, creating the results. And so you need a practice that's going to empower you to keep those things top of mind so you don't forget them, so they don't get lost in the chaos, so that you don't look back 6 months from now and thought, oh, I was going to do that. Those were my goals. I can't believe I forgot about my goals. How did I forget about my goals? Well, there was this whirlwind, and then all of a sudden, everything went out the window. Don't let everything go out the window. Put a paperweight on it, deal with the chaos. When the window's closed, return. Return to where you are going. Okay, so all 4 of these work together. They are all, in my experience, they are all critical. They are all necessary pieces to intentional becoming. And I feel like as I've worked on these, I've really tried to narrow it down onto just what is the most important, because a long list of things isn't going to help. And of course, also, once you set a vision, you don't have to keep setting a vision. Like you set that and you just keep it in mind. You keep working towards it, and maybe things need to be edited, maybe you need to tweak things here and there, but you probably won't need to overhaul that. And then once you set goals, that's done for a while. And then once you decide on a habit, that's something that you just focus on implementing, and then it's just doing the work. It's just just shifting your mindset over and over and over again, doing all of the practical things to reach your goals, to establish your habit, and to intentionally become who it is you want to become. So that concludes our 4 pillars of becoming. And if you want to revisit any of those episodes, they are episodes 200, 202, 204, and of course, this one is 206. Thank you so much for joining me today. I totally love you. Bye for now.